Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. Happy Pokémon Day to all who celebrate, and I can tell you that this very podcast will be fully observing the holiday. That is right, we will be recapping all of the news out of the Pokémon Company's annual stream, which hit the very morning of this recording. First up, though, we do have a little bit of news to get to, and joining me to recap the Pokémon Presents live stream is my friend and yours. It's Dr. Ben Richlin. Ben, how's it going?
It is going. Happy Pokémon Day.
Happy Pokémon Day, yes. So I'm very happy to have you back on this show, not only because I know you're a Pokemon enthusiast. People who are watching the video version will see you are wearing a Pokemon Center hoodie.
My gym knows that I'm a Pokemon enthusiast. I'm wearing Lucario pants. I've got my Lucario hoodie. Pokemon X Craft. And a Rayquaza workout shirt underneath.
I learned it's Rayquaza, actually, when I had Sarah Natacheni, who voiced Ash Ketchum in the anime on the show.
Oh, okay, yes. Listen to her, please.
I believe that was one of the ones that she was like, oh yeah, like that was one that I was always getting wrong, and they were like always correcting me that it's Rayquaza, and I was like, I'm not saying that, is what I told her, basically.
I kept on saying that name, like I flip-flop between the two different ones. I don't know. Whatever comes out of my mouth is just the Pokemon's name.
To this day, I say Rayquaza, so it's all good.
Yeah.
By the way, Rayquaza, there is, if you go to the Tokyo Sky Tree in Tokyo, Japan, there is a Pokemon Center in the Tokyo Sky Tree, and because, you know, Rayquaza is like a sky, like a Pokemon that comes down from the sky, that is actually who is crashing through the ceiling is a giant Rayquaza statue, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I believe I posted about it on... Well, I posted about it on my TikTok. I don't really use my TikTok anymore, but I believe I may have even thrown it up on my YouTube. But yeah, very, very cool stuff over in Japan for the Pokemon Centers. Each one has exclusive statues. The one in Shibuya has Mewtwo and his giant vial, which was really sick. If you're ever in Japan, definitely go check out the Pokemon Centers. But Ben, we have welcomed you on this show a few times now. Usually to talk about Sonic, let's be real.
Sure.
So people know a few things about you. They know that you have your PhD.
MD.
Oh, okay. Your MD. I apologize.
Yeah.
I don't even know that you have your PhD, apparently.
My face has not been in books for that long, and I'm not in that severe. Well, I'm in severe debt, but not in like PhD level debt.
Okay. Well, they know that you were a doctor.
Yes.
They know that you're close friends with Johnny Gioeli, who is the singer of Crush 40.
Yep.
For people who are unaware, that is the band that does a lot of the modern Sonic music.
Well as Hardline and Axel Rudy Pell. Hardline,
yes.
Your favorite.
I love Hardline. It's a great band. But you now have a new credit to add to your resume, and that is music producer. So we're going to kick off the news segment with this, actually, because at the tail end of last week, you joined a friend and multiple-time guest to this very show, Fidel, a.k.a. Games Cage, on his Twitch channel, along with several musicians, including Johnny, to reveal a track that you produced, and it is a cover of the battle song from Persona 3, It's Going Down Now. This was incredible. Can you tell folks a little bit about how this came together?
Yeah. So, and we actually also had, and I have to give her credit, we also had one other person on there, and she was somebody that was helping me organize things as well. My friend Savannah, and she also did the album artwork for that as well.
Amazing album art.
Yeah. So, how this all came together, Johnny and I were on a road trip last year, and I had...
So you had him as captive audience.
I had him as captive audience, and he didn't really have a choice as to like who was controlling the radio. So I was like, let me just put on this song. Like, what do you think of this one? And he liked it. And even like months prior, when Persona 3 Reload came out, I had him sign my collector's edition, and I was like, I just want you to write soon, ... And just like, you'll understand what this means when I eventually get you to do something with it. Like, we'll see. And, you know, I just like had him listen to the song more and more. And then when we were at the event that we were driving to, he was on stage and he asked, how many people here would like to hear me sing a Persona song? And everybody just went crazy. Everybody like cheered. And so he looked right at me. I was in the audience and I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so then one of my other friends who he's a Sonic music producer, and he does a lot of Sonic inspired songs and a lot of covers. His name is Victor McKnight. He ran up to me at the event and he was like, Ben, whatever you want to do with Persona, I'm in. I don't know the franchise at all, but whatever you want to do. And I'm like, I got it. I just need you to help me find the music people because I am an idiot. And so we teamed up with Joshua Teipel, who has done music for some indie video games, and he is an alchemist. He just is. And so he got our drummer Marvin Valentin. He got our bassist Kyle Brook, and we created this whole like instrumental track. And I was like, okay, now we have something deliverable to Johnny, and who's going to do the rap? I think it makes the most sense for Fidel because Fidel had done some rapping previously.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so he had done His World and A Ghost Pumpkin Soup, Pumpkin Hill for Victor McKnight previously. So I was like, okay, he can actually do this.
He has some flow.
And so, is that the term? I should know this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm a 38-year-old white guy. What do I know?
Right, exactly. So am I. 36. So basically, that's what we. That's like I brought all these people together, and I decided the direction of how I wanted the song to sound, and it just. I think we made a banger.
You did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, full disclosure, like you sent me along like a long time ago. This may have been the road trip that you were talking about. You sent me a video of him listening to the song that I suggested that he cover, which is Rivers in the Desert.
Yeah.
On Persona 5.
Right.
And he did not seem to be favorable to that decision.
So, unfortunately, you're now putting me on the spot because now I know that you still want me to get him to do Rivers.
Well, basically, you don't need to trash talk that song, but what you need to tell me is why did this one resonate with Johnny so much?
I think it just had a little bit more pop, and I think the idea of partnering up with Fidel and like, I love crossovers.
Same.
And like, who doesn't like a good crossover? And we had sort of formed this like relationship with Fidel over the past 2 or 3 years by working on another project that unfortunately probably will never see the light of day. But like we always wanted to do something. And so I like the idea of long form narration leading to something as a happy accident. So like there would be times where Johnny and I would appear on Fidel's stream. Like we were driving one day to another event and Johnny calls and Fidel's doing a Sonic Superstars Sega sponsored stream. And all of a sudden, we don't know this, Johnny is yelling the F word on Fidel's stream. And it's so funny because Fidel had locked himself down from cursing for the past 4 days. and so it was like, that was hilarious. And so we had that. Then we hopped on during just like randomly just to like say hi to the fans and whatever, and for Johnny to say hi to the fans. I'm a nobody. And then we hopped on during Christmas, during the holidays for Jonica, and we were wearing Santa hats and with like little menorahs hanging down from them and stuff. And so like we just sort of did some fun little things just to sort of like drop like little breadcrumbs in the back of my mind. I always knew like we have to do something with him. Mm-hmm. There has to be some sort of happy accident payoff, and this was that. In terms of the album art, are you familiar with the 1990s movie Look Who's Talking Now, starring John Travolta and Kirstie Alley?
Yes, I am.
Okay, with the talking dogs?
I think that I'm familiar with Look Who's Talking, not Look Who's Talking Now.
Yeah. So there was Look Who's Talking Again, and Look Who's Talking Now. They made 3 of these suckers.
Yeah, why would I have made it all the way through to the third one?
The third one has talking dogs.
Okay, but so does Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey.
Right, but the third one has a movie poster with the dogs looking like this.
Okay, yes,
right?
I've seen, yeah.
And so, for some reason, in my brain, when we put the song together, I was like, well, we have to replicate that, right? Like, I don't.
I mean, there's a dog in Persona 3, so
Look,
I guess that makes sense.
That's sort of like where my brain was going. Look, I work from home and I'm alone and I don't have like other people to like bounce bad ideas off of. And for some reason, I thought that this was the perfect reference. This was the perfect thing to go for. And we sort of went with it.
All right. So I'm a huge sucker for well-made covers, especially with artists that I really like. Like, you know, there's a couple bands that I like that play a lot of covers, and I love listening to that, like their takes on these songs that I know and love. And I loved when Lynn, who was the vocalist for the Persona 5 soundtrack, covered Escape from the City. So to hear Johnny cover a Persona track was kind of like the rightful conclusion to this crossover.
That was 100% one of the seeds that was planted in my brain when this whole thing started. When that song first came out on the Rock and the Sonic CD, I was like, well, now that there has to be a trade-off here. Like, somehow.
Yeah, Persona has covered Sonic. Now Sonic needs to cover Persona.
Right. And so, like, how do we Sonicify a Persona song? How do we crush 40 a Persona song? And look, the goal was never to make the song ours be better. I don't think that it was always to elevate.
Yeah.
Like, and like both of these songs are so great and can coexist. Johnny, like, tells me to this day that our cover is now his new favorite song.
Love that.
And he doesn't listen to his own music. He hates listening to his own music. This is his new favorite song. And so I can't believe that we were able to do this. The song is on YouTube right now. And it will be on Spotify hopefully within a week or two.
Apple Music?
And Apple, yeah, everything.
Okay.
Yeah,
great. I'm an Apple Music user, so right. I know that's a weird thing to be in 2025.
No. It's like all of the different distributors. It was sent over. It just takes some time.
Sure. So, will there be more covers in the future? Can you say anything like?
That's a great question.
Walking us down that path.
Sure. That's a great question. I will tell you what I said on stream, which is that we are doing an album.
Oh. Wow. So you're going to be a producer not only of a single song, but of an album?
We are doing an album.
Okay.
The band's official name, and now I'm going to give you actually an exclusive.
Oh.
So the band's official name was decided earlier this week. It is called Friends with Bennies.
Friends with Bennies. Okay. Perfect.
Yes. And so the goal is for each of these songs to feature a different guest star.
Oh, awesome.
Across different, sections of video game things.
Yeah.
What those songs are going to be, I mean, like, who could say? I don't know, but like, we'll see what we do.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the album is Final Boss.
Oh, awesome. So Friends with Bennies and the album is Final Boss.
Yes.
Love it. Yes. I'm assuming It's Going Down Now is going to be on that album.
Yes, it will. What are the other songs on that album? You'll have to stay tuned, but I can tell you right now, our team is already hard at work working on our next one. And then the following, and then the following. When this whole thing will be complete, it's really hard to say.
Johnny's super busy.
Like, he read off
3 bands.
Yeah, he read off his entire schedule during Fidel's stream. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Like, it was just crazy. But I would say by the end of the year, early next year, I would like for the album to be complete, but we'll see.
All right. Well, do you mind if we play a little bit of this cover and then hit the news on the other side?
I don't mind.
All right, well, we're going to play that right now, and we will talk to you on the other side with some news. All right, yeah, that is absolutely high octane, so much fun, especially if you played Persona 3 or even last year's Persona 3 Reload. That is just such an incredible rendition of it. And Fidel sounds incredible on that. I mean, Johnny, it's a given that he sounds great, but
Look, the thing that took the longest was getting his raps, unfortunately. Like, everything else was finished, but getting him to sit down and do that, that's what took the longest time. But we really wanted to do something that like took the song and was just like a straight up punch to the face. And I think we kicked some ass with this one.
You did. And where can people hear the full track? Because we only played a snippet of what is out there. If people want to hear this full song, where is it available right now?
The full song right now is on YouTube, and it's on Fidel's Game Cage's YouTube page. And it will soon be on all music distribution services, Spotify, Apple Music, and whatever other weird thing people use.
All right. Well, definitely go check that out. Give a shout out to Fidel on his comments. If you go check it out over there, be sure to subscribe to his channel.
And you're right. He killed it.
Yeah, he sounds great.
There was no other person that could have done this. I want to very much stress this, and like I feel very strongly about every single member of our band. No other person could have fit that role.
Yeah, I mean he fits right in with the vibe of the song too. Like, great rendition, very heavy as well, like surprisingly heavy. Because It's Going Down Now is a fairly poppy song.
Yeah.
Even though it's very adversarial. It's the battle theme of Persona 3. But Johnny brought the heat with this one.
Yeah. It was it was everything I wanted it to be and more.
Yeah. I bet the first time you heard that, you're like, we've got something.
I mean, I was on FaceTime when he was doing it.
Oh, wow.
I was, and he was like, I can knock this out in a half an hour. And I'm like, okay, all right.
I mean, he's a professional. He's
a professional, you know?
You FaceTimed me when you were in a car with him.
Yeah.
He told me he has over 100 albums under his belt.
104.
So he knows how to record a song or two in a studio.
Yeah. And so he was like, should it sound like this? Should it sound like this? And we just like extra little things, you know, replacing the baby at the beginning with yeah, because that's his signature, right?
Uh-huh.
And so that was it was just a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do more of this.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to hear more of it. But for now, a reminder to everyone that you can support all things Nintendo by subscribing to the Patreon page, which provides you early and ad-free episodes, as well as access to the community Discord for just $5 a month. You can also find my merch, including the All Things Redacted shirt, plus various controller outline designs. You can slap on hoodies, magnets, coffee mugs, and other stuff at teepublic.com. All right, so Ben, not a ton of non-Pokemon Day news to sift through today before we jump over to the main segment, but we have a little bit. So last week, my guest, who is also named Ben, and I chatted about a tease that Activision put out regarding a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater project. So we didn't know exactly what it might be, but the March 4th, aka 3/4 date, hinted pretty heavily that it might be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, because, you know, much in the way that we got 1+2 in 2020, 3+4 we got confirmation of a couple years ago that it was in development at one point, but then it was canceled because the studio was absorbed into the Call of Duty development team. But now Activision is teasing, I don't know if you saw it, Ben, but like Activision is teasing that there was like a Tony Hawk logo with March 4th, 2025 up on one of the maps in Black Ops 6. So in addition to that, in this past week, we have gotten a photo shoot of Tony Hawk and several other skaters in front of that same teaser image that appeared in Black Ops 6 last week. And if that wasn't enough, we also got a rating from Singapore's Infocom Media Development Authority for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 for Switch, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, Xbox One, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. So were you a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater guy?
Not really. I mean, I played so much. Have you met me? Like, look, I did play like a little bit on like the Dreamcast, but like I never owned it. You know, listen to like Goldfinger, Superman, and all that sort of stuff.
So good.
Yeah, right. But like I feel like now that I'm older, I maybe I might pick it up. I don't know.
Dude, go get 1+2. It is one of the best remakes of all time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it is so faithful, but also like it modernizes it in the exact right amount of ways.
What do you play it on?
I played it, I believe I reviewed it for Game Informer back in 2020. I believe I played it on PS4, and then eventually I got it on Switch. But I would say like play it on PlayStation or Xbox, so there's no loading screens.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I hear it runs really well on Steam Deck, so I think I do have it on Steam as well. Like I have it on like so many devices at this point because it's so good.
Right.
So yeah, March 4th. So by the time we reconvene for next week's episode, we will know for sure what it is. But, you know, pretty safe bet at this point when there's a leak and also like all this other stuff going on, that it is going to be a reveal trailer for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 coming on March 4th.
Now, here's the thing, though. Tony Hawk also put out on social media a picture of his grandchild with like an emoji face over. What if the reveal has to do with that?
Well, you know, like that kid has
baby's first skateboard.
That kid has the ultimate grandparents, by the way, because his grandfather on one side, on his paternal grandfather is Tony Hawk. His maternal grandfather is Kurt Cobain.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, Tony Hawk's son married Kurt Cobain's daughter.
So this kid
is the most talented genetics of all time.
This kid's gonna hate skating. He's going to only like country music, opera, and reggae.
Okay, so it's gonna be the ultimate. Or it might be a amazing vocalist and guitarist who also in between songs will perform kick flips.
Maybe.
Yeah, you know.
Maybe. Or he'll play baseball.
Or he'll play baseball, yes. Ben, the last time you came on this very podcast, we were reviewing Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So first of all, I know that you went multiple times. How many times did you end up going to see that in theaters?
3.
Fitting, I guess.
Right?
You degenerate.
3 sounds right. Yeah.
So you know how to access the medium of film, I guess is the point that we are getting at right there.
Yes.
Okay. What are your feelings on Terminator 2?
Nothing.
What?
I'm not I wasn't a Terminator person, you know?
I understand that, but Terminator 2 is one of the greatest action movies of all time.
I remember seeing when I first went to Universal Studios in Florida, they had the Terminator ride, and me being scared.
Oh my God, man.
And that might have formed some things.
So, I mean, I will say
Arnold go into lava and everything, you know?
I will say that Terminator 1 and 2, and even some of 3 is very good, but Terminator 2 is an all-time classic. Jurassic Park, on the other hand, the first movie is an all-time classic. Every movie after that, I will say, has been, and I haven't seen the World movies, so I can't really defend those, but like I've heard bad things about those. But is there a movie franchise that has carried more forward off the backs of one really great movie than Jurassic Park? That's my question for you. Like, is there a franchise that has had its bread buttered more by one entry and then carried that forward into multiple subsequent bad entries than Jurassic Park?
A bad and then successful resurgence.
But even that, like, I mean, even that, I don't think I've heard any Jurassic Park fan be like, "Oh yeah, the Jurassic World movies rule." They're always like, "Yeah, they're not good."
One.
Neither have I, but like, yeah. So anyway, we're getting off topic here. Today, Reef Entertainment and Bitmap Bureau put out an announcement trailer for a game called Terminator 2D No Fate. And it is a side-scrolling 2D action game that kind of has like Sega CD or maybe even like Sega Saturn style graphics. And it is a 2D action game, kind of like a Contra style side-scrolling shoot 'em up that retells the Terminator 2 story with additional scenes. And you control Sarah Connor, John Connor, and the T-800 as you fight against the T-1000, which is officially portrayed by Robert Patrick.
Okay.
Which is the trailer itself is fantastic, and it looks like an absolute blast. It looks like they also got Linda Hamilton's likeness.
Okay.
I don't know that they've gotten Arnold Schwarzenegger's likeness because, from a distance you can see him. There is a scene where you play as naked Arnold, but every distant scene, it's just like he looks like a sprite, right? And then any up close scene, he kind of has his face blasted off. So I'm wondering if they didn't get the Arnold likeness. But it looks like they got Linda Hamilton because they've had several up close, like kind of sprite pixelated shots of her face. And they specifically mentioned Robert Patrick in the PlayStation blog entry that I was reading up about this game. So it seems like they have a lot of involvement from the original cast.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, even if they're just like, hey, sign this and we can use your likeness in this retro style game.
Interesting.
But it seems cool. Like there's a lot of like iconic scenes that they showed in the trailer, like the LA River where like the truck is chasing them, and then like the fight against the helicopter, and Sarah Connor in the hospital / prison where she's trying to break out. Just a lot of really cool scenes that look like they're going to be depicted in this. And it also says it's going to expand the story a little bit with extra scenes, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But it comes to Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC on September 5th. But Ben, I don't know if you know much, since you don't seem to be a big Terminator fan. August 29th, which is just 1 week, like exactly 1 week ahead, is a very famous date in Terminator lore, which is the date that Skynet canonically becomes self-aware and launches nukes against humanity. So it's like, come on, guys, can't you just push it 1 week earlier? Like exactly what? It's not even like, okay, going from like a Friday to a Tuesday. It's going from like a Friday to a Friday. Can't you? Come on. I hope they realize this and push it ahead 1 week.
Why don't you just write them a letter?
I'm sure the diehard Terminator fans have.
You could even do it 1980s style and write them like an actual letter.
Yeah, and send them a fax.
Yes, send them a fax.
So, I mean, does this, even though it doesn't seem like you're a big Terminator fan, does this seem like it's up your alley? Because I love games like this, like retelling a classic story with like a retro style thing, like all these years later. It's not like, okay, a new Captain America movie came out, let's have a Captain America licensed game. It's like they have the benefit of hindsight of what works and what doesn't in the story.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not against it. I think that it could be really cool. What's it going to come out for?
What do you mean, like in terms of the consoles?
Yeah.
Everything. PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC.
Okay. All right. And it comes out when?
September 5th.
Okay, right. So right after
Skynet would have destroyed the world. Although I think that was 1997 was the actual date, that because we're all old as dirt now.
So look, like, I think that if it depends on what else is out during the time,
September, no games ever come out.
Oh, right, exactly. Yes. Just getting to the end of Metaphor, by the way.
Hey, I mean, are you sure? Because that ending goes on forever.
Might be wrong.
That game goes on for about 10 hours too long. But I love that game. I will wholeheartedly recommend that game to anybody.
I just got the G Fuel flavor for it, by the way. I got the G Fuel collector's box for Metaphor ReFantasio. It comes with this cool little shaker, and it's a peach raspberry flavor.
Okay. I remember, so there was I think is it called Kung Fu Boba?
Yeah.
There was a collaboration.
Kung Fu Tea.
Kung
Yeah.
Fu Tea, and it's like a boba tea place.
Yeah.
And they had, I was like, oh, awesome. Like I was like just out and about, like I think it was like right around when the game came out. And I was out and about and I saw that and I was like, oh, there's like a poster for Metaphor on the wall here. Like
they collaborated with Persona as well, I think the year before.
So I walked in there and like there's a big sign. Even on like the register, there was a screen on the front that said like Metaphor, Refantasio, ask about our flavors. And I said, hey, what's the Metaphor collaboration? And the guy goes, oh, is that the I don't know what you're talking about. And I was just like, the thing right here on the screen. And he was like, oh yeah, that's like if you order like these 3 flavors, you get like a Metaphor sticker or something. So I did that and that was fun. But like it was very funny that like he thought like he had like a clever response and he was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Brain short circuited. He was honest.
Exactly.
That's fine.
So yeah. Play Metaphor Refantasio. It might come out on Switch 2. Let's be honest. Like that's probably one of the top candidates for Switch 2 whenever they announce like the third-party games coming to that. But if it doesn't, definitely pick that up on Xbox or PlayStation or PC, I guess.
Yeah.
This actually just hit right before we got on to record this. I don't think you've played the Gex games, Ben. I haven't really played either. I was on an episode of Replay, which was a show Game Informer used to do, where we would sit down and kind of Mystery Science Theater 3000 old bad games.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of like a Austin Powers wannabe style, like mascot platformer where all the jokes were like kind of like Austin Powers style of kind of suggestive, kind of like, yeah, oh behave type of stuff. But they just announced right before we got on here, there is a collection. It has Gex from 1995, Gex Enter the Gecko, and Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko, because he's a secret agent. So he hence why there's kind of some Austin Powers-esque stuff going on. But it seems like that's coming to Switch. It was confirmed. I'm reading this over on NintendoLife.com. It seems like it has been confirmed to come to Switch and every other platform later this year.
You know what? Screw this. Brian, you are a mascot for a video game. What animal are you, and what is your profession?
I am a blue hedgehog that runs really fast.
Oh, what's your profession?
That's my profession. I run really fast. What's Sonic's profession?
Drifter.
Wait.
Drifter.
the only mascot that has a job is Mario, and he left that behind long ago. He got into the
Crash doesn't have a job?
I don't think so. I think he's just a bandicoot.
And what about Spyro?
He's a dragon. What does he need a job for?
Banjo-Kazooie?
They're just a bear.
Ukulele?
No, none of them have jobs, I don't think. And guess what? The only one that has a job is a human. So your question here is,
you just said that Gex is a secret agent, though.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Fair enough. But all right, cool. Transitioning to what is your answer?
My answer is I am a muskrat.
A muskrat
who got fired.
Okay,
and that is my character arc. I got fired from working a desk job.
Okay.
Selling paper clips.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess there's fewer paper clips needed in the world when most of them are like email. Okay.
I was furloughed.
This has gone off the rails, Ben.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. So no easy way to transition to this. Unfortunately, as we did last week, we are ending this news segment by talking about some studio closures. Warner Brothers, who I think is probably at the top of my list of major game publishers that I am extremely concerned about existing this time next year, announced that it is closing 3 of its studios. So first up, Player First, the studio that put out Multiversus. Next up is WB Games San Diego, who is working reportedly on a big budget free-to-play game. They are also closed now. And then the final studio is one that really hurts, Monolith Productions. So it is important to note for listeners to this podcast, this is not Monolith Soft, which is the studio behind the Xenoblade Chronicles games.
I got worried about.
Ran support for Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. This was Monolith Productions, which was the studio that put out Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, Middle-earth Shadow of War, Condemned Criminal Origins, Fear, The Matrix Online, and Gotham City Imposters.
Did they do Condemned Bloodshot too?
Yes, they did.
Oh man, I remember watching my college roommates play Criminal Origins and like a bear chasing after us and everything. And then after a while, one of my friends was like, Tommy, he just wants to hug you. And Tommy was just like, all right. He just like insta-death.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But and then Bloodshot was basically just a bum fight simulator.
Oh, interesting. I did not play Bloodshot. I only played Criminal Origins.
Yeah. They were freaky. They were freaky games.
I mean, my favorite were always the Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games. They were also working on a AAA Wonder Woman game, which is now, as you can probably guess, completely canceled.
Yeah.
So Warner Brothers put out the following statement, quote, "We have had to make some very difficult decisions to structure our development studios and investments around building the best games possible with our key franchises, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. After careful consideration, we are closing 3 of our development studios, Monolith Productions, Player First Games, and Warner Brothers Games San Diego. This is a strategic change in direction and not a reflection of these teams or the talent that consists within them." All right, so there are other studios that are under Warner Brothers Games currently. So we have Mortal Kombat developer NetherRealm Studios, Batman Arkham and Suicide Squad developer Rocksteady, Hogwarts Legacy and Disney Infinity developer Avalanche, the developer of many of the Lego games, TT Games, Gotham Knights and Arkham Origins developer WB Games Montreal, MMO and mobile game developer WB Games Boston, support studio WB Games New York, and WB Games San Francisco. So, Ben, I have covered how these studio closures could negatively impact the industry. But, anything under WB Games feels at risk lately, but still, like, this one hurt pretty bad. And as someone who isn't in the games industry and is more of like kind of an outside observer and enthusiast,
Sure.
How do you assess kind of the state of the games industry these past couple of years?
I assess it as something I'm glad I'm not in. Like, it just seems like so volatile. I was listening to Kind of Funny yesterday because they had Jason Schreier.
Yeah, he was the one who broke this story originally.
And so like he sort of like cleared the air about some of this. And like, look, as somebody who consumes like movies and TV and everything else and knows that sort of landscape for how WB has been operating into like the punching bag is Zaslav, fine, like David Zaslav, but it's not though. Like there's actually a lot more to it. Monolith hadn't released a game in like 8 years or something like that, and their leadership had left. And so it's easy to go to like the target that everybody goes to, but there's actually a little bit more nuance to it. So I found that like really interesting, and really just sad. It sucks. I don't want people to lose their jobs. I don't want people to just like wake up one day and then everything just gets shifted. It's not right, and it's not okay. And look, you listed off everything, all those things that where they want to shift their focus to. You said DC. That they're not Batman. They want to do Batman. Fine.
Well, I mean, hey, James Gunn has this whole plan of like using DC to integrate it into the DCU that he is building, beginning with Superman. Yeah,
those are words.
But he wants it to be like canonical within the DCU.
Prove it.
Yeah.
I very much trust James Gunn, like not to go on a tangent, but like I 100% trust his vision for the DC universe. I thought Peacemaker, obviously, fantastic. Peacemaker rules. Johnny's song is in there. I'm excited for Superman. I've never been excited for Superman. Now I'm excited for Superman. Creature Commandos was fun.
I've not watched it yet. I need to.
It's a fun one. And so like I trust his vision. But like saying like it takes so long for a video game to come out. It's hard for me to like picture a video game tying in to a cinematic universe it's such a different turnaround.
It takes so long to make a game.
Yeah, and a good game. Like that's the other thing too. Like how long Rocksteady worked on Suicide Squad for such a long time, and that was a dud, and that's a bummer. And I don't know. I mean, I know I sound like I'm a little bit of a like free flowing right now. Look, in terms of what I loved from WB, I liked Hogwarts Legacy. I thought it was fun. Did it bring anything new to the table? No. But like, it was nice that it was a success, but it also was detrimental because it shows what sells and that they just want to like put all their, whatever into just that.
I'm surprised they didn't say like, oh, well, like we were going to invest in our, like they said DC as one of like their pillars of like, this is one of the ones we're investing in. They were working on a Wonder Woman game.
Well, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like they want to do Batman. They want like Rocksteady is going back to Batman.
Yeah, they did say that.
Yeah.
So Monolith is actually the one that hurts a lot because my first ever cover story trip with Game Informer was out to Monolith. So I actually visited them out in Washington State to play Shadow of War.
Yeah.
And interview a lot of that team, and a lot of great folks there. I don't know how many of them were still there when it closed. But yeah, so I mean, I will always have a soft spot in my heart. And also Shadow of Mordor, when that came out, I believe 2014, that was my game of the year that year.
I was looking forward. I'm not a big Wonder Woman fan, but like what they were describing and what Jason what Schreier talked about yesterday sounded something really cool. Like the whole Nemesis system and everything like that. Like that sucks that we're not going to have that.
Which, by the way, the Nemesis system patent by Warner Brothers doesn't expire till August 11th, 2036.
Okay, so it might get incorporated into a different game.
I sure hope so. I mean, it was originally developed for Monolith was originally working on a Batman game, and then they shifted gears to make it a Lord of the Rings game, because I think originally it was supposed to be one of like the licensed games for like I think it was like originally being developed to be a licensed game for the Christopher Nolan series or something like that. It was a Batman game of some sort, and then they shifted gears to make it a Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah.
So maybe they give it to Rocksteady and be like, hey, do something cool with this. But like theoretically, I'm not a copyright lawyer or anything like that, but theoretically somebody could make something very similar and just call it something different.
Right.
But yeah. But as you had indicated, Ben, if you want to check out a game from a group of former senior team members at Monolith, several of them did leave the studio in 2021 to form Cliffhanger Games, which is now making a single-player Black Panther game for EA.
Don't we have two Black Panther games?
We do. We have Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, which is Captain America and Black Panther in...
T'Chaka.
Yes, in 1943. And then we have, I think we don't know much about this Black Panther game that is being made at EA, but it theoretically would be modern day.
And isn't EA also doing an Iron Man game?
They are also doing an Iron Man game. Then Insomniac is doing a Wolverine game. And then what else? There's one other game that I need
forgetting. Tangibilization.
Hey, I'm sure we learn about Wolverine this year. Like I would be shocked.
Yeah. Like I think that we learn about Wolverine this summer.
And I mean, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, I think, is supposed to come out this year.
Yeah,
we haven't heard anything about Iron Man or Black Panther since those announcements, really.
No more games as a service.
I hope. I mean, it doesn't seem like it is. It doesn't seem like I think they learned their lesson with Marvel's Avengers.
No. I mean, I'm not even talking about Black Panther. I'm just saying in general, like how Scarlet Witch said no more mutants in the comics. Yeah. I'm just sort of like, let's take a break from this.
Fair enough.
Stop trying to chase Fortnite. I understand the mentality, but like we're done. Well,
it's like that guy said, Hogwarts Legacy was a huge success, best-selling game of the year. We need to do that, but live service. That's what the executive in charge of
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not learning the right lessons.
I don't want to attend potions class at 9 a.m.
I don't need another chore.
I don't need another chore. I don't.
I have a couple of live service games that I keep up with, and I don't need any more. And that's the big miscalculation that a lot of these executives make, is like the vast majority of the player base has time for 1, maybe 2 live service games that they can keep up with on a even semi-regular basis.
I do Pokemon Go. Or does that count as a live?
Counts, yeah.
Yeah. Pokemon Go and Pokemon Sleep. I have gamified me waking up and going to bed. I tried Pokemon TCG Pocket, and here's what happened.
We're going to talk about this next segment, but yeah, go ahead.
My productivity in terms of like actual doing like important things went down.
So I took a nosedive, is what you're saying.
I had to cut something out, and so it's uninstalled. I reinstalled it this morning, but I'm going to uninstall it again.
It's uninstalled, except for today.
So
obviously, we all hope that everyone impacted by these layoffs land on their feet and are able to continue working in this industry that we love. I mean, I know firsthand what it feels like to wake up one morning and then be told, like, hey, you don't have a job anymore.
Can I ask you something, though?
Sure.
Like, as somebody who is plugged into the industry, Jason did say, Schreier did say yesterday that he doesn't feel like another round of layoffs would come to WB after all of this. What is your perspective? And
I sincerely hope. I mean, Jason would know better than I would, having sources within WB, presumably. Like, it sure seems like he does.
Yeah.
So he would have better insight into that. But I mean, I really hope that this is like their course correction and then there's no more layoffs planned, because we saw last week with NetEase laying off the US-based Marvel Rivals team. There were reports that came out right after that were like, oh, and there might be more coming. And it's like, geez, like that is even more disheartening somehow. It's like, okay, all these people that worked on one of the most successful games of the last year are no longer employed. And now, like, there might be more coming. Like, that's even scarier than what seems like it's happening at WB.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it definitely feels like no matter how much we love this industry, it definitely does not love us back.
Yeah, it is. It's really unfortunate.
But Ben, we are going to take our first break of this episode, and when we get back, we will be breaking down all of the action out of Pokemon Day 2025. We will be right back after this short musical intermission. We are back, and earlier today we received our annual look at what's going on in the world of Pokemon. Pokemon Day falls on my birthday every single year, so that's pretty cool since I not only share a birthday with one of my favorite franchises, but I get news related to that series each year on my birthday. And as is tradition, we received a jam-packed Pokemon Presents stream from the Pokemon Company, and we got quite a few announcements ranging pretty much the entire spectrum in terms of importance and magnitude. But Ben, what's going on over there with the hat for the people watching on video?
Well, this is just a new yarmulke. Prop comedy is very expensive.
Clearly, yeah. That's
don't do it.
Okay, that's the lesson that we're learning here.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's lead off with some of the smaller things that were covered in the Pokemon Presents.
All the small
I know it's my birthday, so it is the Pokemon Presents, not Pokemon Presents.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes.
So here's some of the smaller things. New episodes of Pokemon Concierge are coming to Netflix in September. Also, between now and March 9th, if you don't subscribe to Netflix, you can catch the entire first batch of episodes, which there's just 4 of them, for free on the official Pokemon YouTube channel. So those will go away on March 9th. So you can catch it on Netflix or you can watch it on YouTube until March 9th, and then new episodes in September. And next up, Ben, you have played the Pokemon trading card game competitively in the past.
Yes.
And I know you still collect, right?
I do collect. Every now and then I feel the itch to just, I mean, now that I have a pretty stable job, like I can dip my foot in.
Okay. So we got a look at the new series coming to the Pokemon TCG, the Mega Evolution series of expansion. So we've been in the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet series for a very long time now.
I think it's still going to be under the Scarlet Violet banner.
It made it seem like this is a new series of expansions, but I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is under the Scarlet Violet.
I think that what's happening is something very, very similar to when we had Legends Arceus, and that this is tying in with ZA, right? And so I think that ZA is still under the Scarlet Violet banner. Like, we're still in this generation, is what I'm saying. I don't think that we're not moving. We have not moved to generation 9, 10? 10. Yeah.
Is it 10? I don't know.
It's going to be 10.
So yeah, this will draw inspiration from Legends ZA, as you had indicated. We got our first look at 2 Mega EX cards that are coming. So Mega Gardevoir EX and Mega Lucario EX. And the game mechanics are bonkers. So Mega Evolution Pokemon EX have a ton of HP and do a ton of damage, even compared to regular Pokemon EX cards, which are already very powerful. But when one of these Mega Evolution Pokemon EX cards gets knocked out, it gives up 3 prize cards.
Yeah. So the mechanic is a little bit different than actual, because they did do Mega Evolution previously 10 years ago. And
back when XY came out.
Back when X and Y came out. But the way that it worked is that it would evolve from the actual, like, Mega Lucario would evolve from Lucario. Instead, Mega Lucario is just directly evolving from, like, Riolu. It seems.
Interesting. So these are going to be super high risk, super high reward, because, like, theoretically these things are going to just wipe the floor with most cards. But if you happen to, like, get caught off guard and get taken out with a Mega Evolution Pokemon EX, that is a mouthful, you are basically at a massive disadvantage then. So you better hope you at least get your money's worth and take out 3 of their prize cards before they take out your Mega Pokemon EX whatever. Because it's going to hurt if one of those goes under.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to learn all about Mega Evolution series in the future. All we know right now, it's coming sometime in 2025. But Ben, as somebody with experience playing Pokemon TCG, what is your read on this mechanic?
It's crazy. I mean, like, I've been a little bit away from competitive for years, but, like, I've dipped my foot and taken a look and seeing, like, what's popular now. This just looks pretty crazy. But they always find a way to keep it balanced until it isn't. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the point of any. I mean, we were talking about live service games. An ever evolving TCG is just a tactile live service game.
It's also a human hand grenade.
So they're going to basically implement new mechanics, start off extremely balanced, and then there's going to be a power shift and a power creep or power leap, depending on how it ends up going. So eventually what they'll do after they introduce this mechanic, they'll gradually introduce it, and then all at once they're going to probably break it, and then they'll do something different.
I think, like, this is very similar to, so, like, with Sword and Shield, the mechanic was VMAX. And then when the Hisui stuff, the Pokemon Legends Arceus stuff came out, it became V-Star. But it was still under the Sword and Shield banner. I think that this is going to be somewhat, like, similar to that. And then, whenever Gen 10 comes out, Pokemon Rock and Pokemon Scissor, it'll be paper soon, or at least trademarked. And then it'll be a brand new mechanic for that. So, like, I think that this is actually a pretty tame mechanic, all things considered. But they want the games to go fast. So, yeah, 3 prizes. We'll see what competitive looks like.
You got to wonder how it's going to translate this mechanic over to Pokemon TCG Pocket, because you only get 3 prizes with that. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how they're going to make this work unless they make it, like, super high risk.
Like,
and
just like your Mega Evolution Pokemon goes under.
Those games are going to go quick.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they adjust it and they make it so like there's a specific cost that needs to be paid in order to like actually like, I don't know, maybe you can only do it if you have like 2 prizes left or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. But you had indicated that you were playing Pokemon TCG Pocket so much that it was impeding with your life.
Yes,
But
couldn't go to the bathroom, couldn't shower.
You just reinstalled it. We got news out of that camp as well, because I don't know how long you were playing regularly, but the most exciting time in that game is when a new expansion is added.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
And
get it.
that is just what's happening starting this week. Players can start collecting cards from the Triumphant Light booster packs. And some of the cards included in this are Arceus, Tyranitar, Rotom, Crobat, Raichu, Obama Snow,
Obama
Barack Obama Snow.
Yes.
And then to celebrate Pokemon Day, if you log in between now and April 29th, you can receive special booster packs for free that are guaranteed to include at least one 4-diamond rarity or higher card. And then there's also going to be special missions that will run for the next month. And finally, Ben, this is where you really get sucked back in. We learned that ranked matches are coming to Pokemon TCG Pocket in March.
I don't want to live anymore. This franchise has defined my life enough. No, look, we'll see.
You already said you downloaded it again.
I can uninstall it though. Like,
will you?
I don't know. You know, it's so hard to keep up with all of these different things. And then
we just talked about that last segment about all the live service games trying to keep up with them.
Yeah, and so like look, FOMO is real, and it is a very unkind feeling. And so
I know it?
You feel it with Pokemon Go. I feel it with Pokemon Sleep when I don't push that dumb little button next to my pillow, the stupid Pokeball thing. And it's just not a good feeling. And so I don't want to give myself intentional FOMO by missing out on something in Pokemon TCG Pocket. And so the solution then is to just not have it.
Hey, I've made that decision myself for several games, and I actually have fallen off Pokemon TCG Pocket in recent weeks.
Having said that,
oh boy,
I will probably just constantly be downloading and uninstalling and downloading. It's a cycle.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle.
So speaking of games that we're probably not going to play,
Cafe Remix,
and Pokemon seem to realize that because they did not dwell on it as much as we are even going to dwell on it. So we got updates for Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Cafe Remix, Pokemon Sleep, and Pokemon Masters EX. Which
hey, I do Sleep.
Yeah, but do you play Sleep, or do you just like put it on your nightstand?
I do my thing where I go to bed, I put the thing on, and then when I go, before I take a shower every morning, I connect my phone to Bluetooth, and I see what Pokemon are available while I'm brushing my teeth.
All right. Well, I'm glad personally that they kind of glanced over these mobile apps.
Well, I'm glad they're maintaining my hygiene. So whatever.
Honestly, the vibe that I got from the way that they treated this was kind of like the paid commercial segments at the Game Awards, where it's just like, here's a prepared trailer. We're not going to like hype it up at all. We're just going to send it out there. You're going to get like just the facts of what's coming to these games. And then it allowed them to save time for the bigger announcements, which we are now going to cover.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Shovelware? Is that the right term for some of this?
I mean, I think it's just like games that have been around for a long time. Like if Pokemon Masters EX was coming out this year, it would make a bigger splash. But it's been around, I think, for like something like 5 years now, 5.5 years.
I did play Pokemon Masters EX, and I still have that. And every now and then I'll just like pop in. There's some like cool things in there. Like I like the lore and the story stuff. Like, but it is a lot to keep up with, and something's got to give.
Yeah, it's just impossible to keep up with all this stuff. And I've always wanted
unless
to try.
it's your job.
Unless it's your job. Even then,
unless you're Cerebi. Like then it's different.
Yes. So let's get into these bigger announcements. There were two major games that were talked about the most on the Pokemon Presents live stream. The first one, let's talk about this. We got a trailer where people were playing through various generations of Pokemon, link cables and all, battling each other. And it started off with people playing Gen 1 in a Game Boy. And I got so excited because I thought this meant that the Gen 1 games were finally coming to Switch Online.
Right?
Turns out that's not the case. Instead,
and then Gen 3 things.
Yeah,
wouldn't that have been wonderful to play Pokemon amazing. Emerald?
But no. New game called Pokemon Champions. And this is being developed by the Pokemon Works, with Game Freak handling the planning side of it. And we don't have a ton of details, but it almost looks like modern Pokemon Stadium with online play.
We basically got the wrong message from this. The messaging that they had intended was, this is battling. Really, what you and I think a lot of people probably got were like, oh, these are coming to eShop. No, this is just battling. It basically looks like portable Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah.
Yes. But with some exciting twists. Like, it's not just a simulator. You can bring in your Pokemon from Pokemon Go and from like the main series games. I think that is actually kind of a cool element.
Yep.
And so like, if you're really into competitive and you're just carrying around your phone and you want to like play test like your team versus somebody else's, like late one night before a major match in a tournament for something, like you just take out your phone. You don't have to carry around your Switch anymore. I think that that's actually a really cool element. I don't think that this is for you and me.
No, I don't think so either. They do say it uses the core game style battle system, which is good.
Yes.
Because there could have been any number of ways that they screwed up the battle system.
Right.
But it is good that it uses Pokemon Home, which can connect, like you said, the main series games or Pokemon Go. And if you don't have Pokemon Home, or you lost your save file like I did when I transferred to my new Switch.
Holy shit.
Because you can't transfer your save files on a Pokemon game.
Oh. From Switch to Switch?
Nope.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Well, I mean, I guess, okay. No cloud save. I'm sorry.
Correct.
I only use cloud saves. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have the micro SD card.
Yeah. Apologies for the misconception there. But yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't care that much, honestly. Like, I'm just going to start a new file if I'm going to care that much. But you can have partner Pokemon in Champions that you can use as well if you don't have any of the other games.
Right.
But yeah, the interesting thing is it is coming to the, quote, Switch family of systems, which I wonder if that's how they're going to call it when it is cross-gen on Switch 1 and Switch 2. Or
that's what they said with the DS stuff, with the 3DS and DS.
I don't know.
Right?
But also, like you said, coming to iOS and Android devices. I don't know if that means it's going to be free to play, or if that's just a way that they can expand the player base without putting it on like competing consoles. Because Nintendo would be like, yeah, we're not putting that on Xbox. What are you talking about?
But how would they charge people for this?
You can charge people for apps in the App Store.
No, but what would that look like for this? Like,
I don't know, like $10, $15, $20.
A battle? Like what? Like this just seems like a battling simulator, but like a little bit more elevated from it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you would look if you are going to monetize this thing or monetize it. Then I don't think it's going to last long. I think that it's just going to be like, now that whole wonderful story I just said about people playtesting, going to each other's hotel rooms. Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to battle you. Oh shoot, I left my wallet back there and I can't buy 14, 15 dingleberries in order to do this next battle that I want to do to test for tomorrow's tournament. That just seems strange.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of how are they going to monetize it? It's either going to be an in-game item where like every battle you have to like expend this thing, or it's going to be you have to rent Pokemon to use them in battle. I don't know. We are going to have to wait a bit longer for any additional updates, but it's kind of cool that you can cross-play with mobile and Switch. Like that's a cool thing.
When's it come out?
I think it just said that it's coming at some point this year.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, seems overall pretty cool.
Do you think that, I mean, I think that if they don't monetize it, then they're going to use this as the platform of choice to battle in tournaments
They could,
and
yeah.
competitive,
Because I mean, it looks like
instead of
it's
using the core series games.
very visually pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. I feel like that would be easier to set up tournaments that way, especially if it's
Right.
just like the core style. I don't know what kind of like gimmicks are able to make the leap over. Like, is there going to be like some Pokemon will have Mega Evolutions, some will have
The
like
trailer showed Mega Evolution, and it
yeah,
showed
terrestrializing.
terrestrialization.
Yeah, okay, then yeah, that's kind of cool if they're crossing the streams there. But yeah, so the last thing here, last week I predicted that we would get our first tease of the new generation of Pokemon. Turns out that did not happen. But the most obvious thing in the world did happen, and that was our first real look at Pokemon Legends ZA. So we got our first full trailer showing in-game footage and gameplay. As we already knew, it takes place entirely in Lumiose City, which first appeared in the Kalos region of Pokemon X and Y. And if you recall, the starters in Legends Arceus were Cyndaquil, Rowlet, and Oshawott. So one Gen 2 Pokemon already in there. For Legends ZA, you'll be able to choose from Tepig, Chikorita, and Totodile, which means all three Gen 2 starters are now featured as starters in the two Legends games. That's kind of wild.
Johto supremacy. What can I say?
I just wonder why they were like, okay, like you would think that they would be like, okay, well, let's put Charmander or Squirtle, like one of like the really popular Gen 1 Pokemon.
Well, no, because they already have Mega Evolutions.
Okay, fair enough.
They want to give different things. So they couldn't do any of the Hoenn ones, right? Because those all have Mega Evolutions.
Yeah, all the Kanto starters have Mega Evolutions because they were like a secondary starter that you could get in X and Y.
Right, exactly. They couldn't do Rowlet as they couldn't do Rowlet, Cyndaquil, or the other one, Oshawott. Because they were already in the Legends game previously. Fine. So then what's our other grass and waters, right? You could do Sword and Shield, but they all have Dynamax versions, Gigantamax versions. You could do Paldea, but that's also strange because
it's also very new.
It's too new. So then what else do we have? Did I run through all of them?
Gen 3?
Gen 3 all have Mega Evolutions.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because like Mega Blaziken and everything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But who do you think your starter is going to be in ZA?
It's going to be Totodile.
Same.
It's like absolutely going to be Totodile. You know what? I guess they could have done Poplio instead of Totodile. I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people liked Poplio. I didn't mind Poplio.
I didn't care for them, and they weren't going to do the Kalos starters either. But going back to your, oh shoot, you know what? They didn't do the Sinnoh ones. They could have done Turtwig.
They could have.
I'm looking at this chart because I sent, just quick tangent, sorry. I sent this chart of starter Pokemon to my best friend and my sister, and I was like, I need to know which ones your kids like. They can only pick one because, it's time for me to get plushies for them and everything like that and make sure that they have their starter. Anyway, I'm going to Totodile all the way, 100%. My question, though, I'm going to toss it back to you. Do you think that they are going to get... I think that it's a given that they're going to have Mega Evolutions.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that they're also going to have Divergent Evolutions? Or just...
You mean like how Charizard has 2 Mega Evolutions?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if like...
No, sorry. Not like that. Like how Cyndaquil can be Hisuian.
Oh, yeah. You think it's going to be like maybe a different final form?
Yeah.
Than what Cyndaquil had in Johto. He had like the other thing in Hisui.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. I feel like they like coming up with these like secondary evolutionary forms that I feel like they like to reward players for playing this new game with a new evolution of a Pokemon they're familiar with. Like we
Plus a
see a
Mega
lot of those.
Evolution? You think that we're going to get both for that one starter for each of
Yes,
these?
that is my
Okay.
prediction anyway.
Okay, that would be wonderful. I would love that. I don't think that we're going to get that.
You think they're just going to do like their normal 1, 2, 3 evolutions and then they'll get a Mega Evolution to?
I think it's too much to ask a player who's familiar with these final evolutions to be like.
So you think we're going to get Feraligatr, and then Feraligatr, we're going to get Mega Feraligatr?
Well, what I'm like, I think it's going to be the regular Feraligatr, is what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to be a dark water Feraligatr. I think it's going to be just the regular Feraligatr that Mega evolves into regular Feraligatr, and I say that because I think once you show these starters, there's a logic to this. I promise. Once you show these starters, our brains are now like, okay, we know what they look like in their final forms. What will their megas look like? Whereas if we see megas of new Pokemon, essentially new evolution, it's not as impactful.
Sure. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's solid logic. You're
this line of thinking is also why I'm single. So mileage may vary.
So something that was interesting to me was, since this, the question I've had for this game ever since it was announced last year on Pokemon Day.
Yes.
They
and
said
last time we heard anything.
It takes place entirely in Lumio City. So you're not like venturing out into the wilds the way you did in Legends Arceus. So the city, I was like, how is that going to work, right? Because like the whole thing about the Legends Arceus game is you're going out and you're finding wild Pokemon and catching them, adding them to your team and all that stuff. So the way they did it in this game is conflicting to me, because they set up wild zones, they're called. Yeah. They're just very like, quarantined areas where wild Pokemon roam. And I guess the story reason is they're in the middle of like this technological boom in Lumio City, and they're upgrading the city everywhere. So they kind of set up like these conservation areas so wild Pokemon can live and exist in peace in the city and not be bothered. So naturally, you go in there, attack them, and catch them. And it's like, what role are we as players playing in this city?
So I have a question. Do you think that this is taking place in the future or the past?
I think it's taking place in either the recent past or the present, because it's not as far back as Legends Arceus. And the reason for that is you can look at the technology of the Pokeball. It looks much closer to the modern Pokeball than the wooden steampunk version.
There is an answer. The answer is future. It's taking place in the future. And here's why. Because we see AZ in the game. And
the owner of the hotel.
He's the owner of the hotel, and he sacrificed his Floette. If you remember, in X and Y, like before the events of X and Y during the Great War of Kalos, to build the ultimate weapon, which is what it was called. Anyway.
That's Shadow.
That's Shadow. The ultimate life form.
Yes.
Yeah. The ultimate weapon was the Eclipse
The Bio Lizard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the whole cannon.
Right, we're talking Pokemon here.
Yes. You did this. Anyway. It's your birthday. Anyway. So, AZ has his Floette back in this game.
But it has a dark flower instead.
Well, it's the same dark flower as before.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like a special Floette.
Right. So my line of thinking is that this takes place in the future, because otherwise he wouldn't have the Pokemon back.
That's fair. That's a solid observation. I completely forgot about that. I mean, I haven't played Pokemon X and Y since it came out on 3DS. So yeah,
2013. So 12 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so look, back to what you were saying about the
wild zones.
It seems a little strange,
but
what role are we playing in this? Like, what is the story?
I don't know, but like, you're staying at the hotel, you're interacting with various people there. The hotel is your base of operations. You go into these wild zones, and some of them will run away if they see you, which means like you might need to hide and like try to sneak up on them. But then you can also throw out one of your own Pokemon and battle them to lower their HP. And then I don't know how much you watched of the battling, but it's no longer turn-based. Instead, it plays out in real time.
Yeah.
You move around. You can command your Pokemon to perform attacks, which actually means that you also have to time your attacks correctly, since it happens in real time. And some attacks take longer to do, and they have different areas of effect depending on their effectiveness.
Is there a cooldown?
I'm pretty sure there is.
Yeah.
Because some attacks take a really long time to happen, so I'm assuming there's a cooldown on all your attacks. You can also activate Mega Evolutions, which I hope is changed.
It looks like Mega Evolutions, because it like the attacks have like little plus symbols next to them, and so it looks like maybe they like reduce the cooldown and they do more damage or something like that.
Because in X and Y, like, it was a fun novelty, but it was basically press this button and you win.
That's right.
And I hope that they figured out some way to make it more balanced, because like all of the gimmicks were more or less that way in a lot of the Pokemon games. I feel like Terastallization was the first one that felt slightly balanced.
Not if you're trying to take down one of those Pokemon with a Mightiest Mark, then everything feels like
Yeah, it was I don't know. I had some struggles with the Scarlet and Violet, some of the gym leaders.
Yeah.
It's like, I believe in Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield and X and Y, it was like, okay, if I'm struggling, I can just hit gimmick button and I will win.
Right.
Whereas like Terastallization was not a like hit this button and you win.
Terastallization did require a little bit more strategy, and it was more of a break glass in case of emergency.
So I'm hoping that they've learned
glass over Pokemon.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping on their head and make them look really stupid.
That's right.
I am hoping that they've learned from that mechanic in the implementation of the Mega Evolution in this game.
Right.
But yeah, the wild zones feel, I don't know, like it feels, I would like it if you were just walking around the city and you would see like, oh, there's like a Litten hanging out behind that tree over there. Let me sneak up on it.
You just start getting into a fight in front of all these people.
Yeah, like it's a Pokemon
in a non-enclosed, like that seems so uncontained.
Yeah, but that's what this series is. You're going out into the wild in Legends Arceus anyway, and it's just like there's no boundary. You're just going out and a Pokemon runs up to you. It's not, that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for kind of an uncontained experience within Lumio City, but instead it's like almost like little mini safari zones or little mini like wild areas from X and Y.
It does feel, we didn't meet the professor for this game, right? We just met like the organization.
No, we just met AZ and
some organization.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but they're obviously the bad guys at the end, because
possibly,
here's the leader of a corporation. Okay,
and here's their secretary. Yeah,
it's probably going to be the people that I end up fighting at the end.
Look, in the middle of the night, it's simple. In the middle of the night, they breed a bunch of Pokemon, then they put them in little bins, then they go into the wild zones, then they dump them there, and they're just like, figure it out, guys. And then you just go and you battle them, and then you run around and you just, I want more information, just like anything else. I think the thing I'm most disappointed on is that we didn't get to see any new Pokemon, period. Which
we got plenty of that in Legends Arceus, but hopefully we get another. I mean, we'll definitely get more trailers and everything in the future.
How many new Pokemon were actually introduced? I'm gonna make you do some. Yes. I'm so sorry.
There's only, I mean, it wasn't a ton.
It wasn't a ton. I feel like it was like 10.
Let's
12?
See. Pokemon found. Okay, wow, it's a decent amount. I mean, if you count Hisuian forms.
Sure, I will.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Okay.
That's like Hisuian Braviary and Hisuian Voltorb, but then also there's Sneasler and Ursaluna, Overquill, which is a very good name, by the way. Overquill.
It's a good one. Basculegion.
Yeah, Basculegion.
Look, I think that there can be an Hisuian Basculin, which is the only one that evolves into Basculegion. So, like, look, I think I would like to see a lot of new Pokemon. I'm greedy like that. I'd like to see primarily what they like different whatever. It's still Lumioisian forms.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not a new region. Like
It's
Hisui,
still Kalos.
yeah, Hisui was its own thing. So I mean, it's always weird when they're like, hey, we're going back to this region, and now there's new regional variants, and it's like, wait, where were these the first time?
Right. So like, look, this whole urban redevelopment plan. It seems like if like now I'm actually like thinking about it, and they're building the wild zones. They're like making Lumiois City not be part of Kalos anymore and be its own thing.
Oh, there's seceding.
There's seceding,
Okay.
which is such a great theme and has been so successful in the past.
Yes. So we've already talked about...
We might experience it in the future.
Well, maybe.
I don't know.
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Things are going very smoothly.
Yes.
Hotel Z, that is your base of operations, owned by AZ, his partner Pokemon Eternal Flower Floette that you've already alluded to here.
Which could only be obtained in X and Y by hacking, by the way. And it was never released.
Yeah. I mean, I never tried, so...
It had a special attack, too. Like, there was, like, a lot... Like, they had planned a whole distribution for that Pokemon, clearly. But, like, just didn't happen. So it's actually kind of funny when the Pokemon company, like, puts out a meme and says, it's been 3,000 years when they reference from the old game. Anyway.
So it seems like the rival character is either Urbane or Tawny, who is determined by what appearance you choose at the start of your game. So cool. I guess if you choose like a masculine form, it'll be one. If you choose a feminine form, it'll be the other that is your rival. I'm assuming it's your rival. Pokemon Company stopped short of saying the game is coming to Switch 2 because my theory is that Nintendo has asked all developers not to confirm anything for Switch 2 until after that April reveal. But it did confirm that this game is finally coming out in late 2025.
We actually got something else.
Okay, what else?
If you watch the Japanese Pokemon Presents, it says fall 2025.
Okay, so not holiday necessarily. Maybe
October.
We'll see. Yeah, maybe like October at the latest.
November.
Maybe September 5th. And just override the Terminator 2D no fate.
Right over it, yeah.
Man, that would be unfortunate for that studio that is...
Yeah, that would suck.
Putting out a game that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
How are you feeling overall about this giant info dump?
It feels giant, but it also, like, I felt like it's asking a lot more questions, especially after, like, talking about it with you, and now, like, having my brain be working. Yeah. I wish the game looked better.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
But I guess my hope is that there is a Switch 2 version that doesn't look like this.
Yeah, it could use a little bit higher resolution for sure, but also I don't want them to get too ambitious because we've seen what happens when they get too ambitious on the technical side. It runs like Scarlet and Violet. Which
is the most fun I've played in a seemingly broken game.
It's so good. Like, there is an incredible game underneath all those problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I loved Legends Arceus. Just got one of these, by the way. By the way, this expensive rock, basically.
It looks like it, yeah.
This could actually kill somebody. But anyway, I loved Legends Arceus. What did you think of Legends Arceus?
I think it's the best Pokemon game since Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Me too.
Yeah. So 15 years, best game in 15 years for that series.
Yeah. Yeah, X and Y do hold like a special place because
I
think it's like the leap between Black 2 and White 2. But like, you're giving us another Pokemon Legends game. It's got a hit in a lot of different places where the other things did not. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, please make this look good for Switch 2. Like, I want another Pokemon Presents in June or July.
That'd be nice.
That if this game is truly coming out in the fall, which is what it looks like the Japanese Pokemon Presents said, then I want something in June or July that gives us the Switch 2 version look of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of that if, developers are able to give upgrades to a Switch 2 version, in the way that like the rumor is that like, you know, Breath of the Wild running at 60 frames per second. I think we'll start seeing a lot of that come out, where it's like the side by side of like, here's what Breath of the Wild runs on Switch, here's what Breath of the Wild runs on Switch 2.
Yeah, but that's not good enough. I don't want this looked like a Wii game.
I think you're getting your hopes up if you think that like it's going to be a massive.
You're right. I'm just saying what I want.
I think we're going to get like 60 frames per second, maybe.
I think you're probably right, and like that is I'm not getting my hopes up, because I think that's where my hopes actually are. Like, but I'm just saying, like, move the needle, but definitely come out swinging for Gen 10, which is going to be next year, because that's the 30th anniversary.
Oh yeah. Could you imagine if the 30th anniversary is like every Pokemon ever is going to be in this game, like true like
Dexit?
The reverse Dexit. Like, hey, we're pulling out all the stops. Every game is coming to Switch 2. Like all the classic games
do all of that
over the next, like they say, like over the next year on a regular cadence. We're going to put each new generation or each previous generation.
So you're saying like Pokemon's going to Pokemon, which is why we haven't seen like all these old games, and Nintendo's going to Nintendo, which is why we haven't seen other Nintendo games on there. You're asking for like a very seismic shift. Could I imagine it? I can imagine it, absolutely, because I had this all on my computer as emulators and ROMs. I
think the 30th anniversary is a big one, though.
30th anniversary is a big one, and quite frankly, I don't think that Sun and Moon really did the 20th anniversary justice.
Well, the 20th anniversary, didn't they put Red, Blue, Yellow on the 3DS eShop?
They did put Red, Blue, Yellow on the eShop.
So, I mean, hey, maybe they do that, but expanded with the 30th. Like, maybe they do, like, even just the first, like, 3 or 4 gens.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're waiting for.
I mean, putting Red, Blue...
hopefully.
Look, putting Red, Blue, and Yellow and Gold, Silver, Crystal on the eShop, there's a little bit of, like logic to it, because you couldn't transfer those Pokemon, whereas with the Game Boy Advance things, you can still technically actually, I don't know if you can, because those services are down now.
Man, I would take Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a Heart Gold,
Soul Silver. Or even Fire Red, Leaf Green. Like, I love those remakes.
How would you do Heart Gold, Soul Silver dual screened on the Switch?
I mean, they did Skyward Sword without motion controls.
That's true.
They can revamp games, especially if they're going to charge like $60 for it.
I am glad, though, that they didn't do another thing like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl for Gold and Silver. I'm glad that they didn't do that, because I don't think that would have done good things for Johto. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe. I don't know. I would love a modernized remake, as long as it's closer to like Heart Gold, Soul Silver instead of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Right. Yeah.
I want like the core experience intact, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Pokemon Day 2025 in the books. Lots of fun stuff to look forward to. Lots of fun stuff that is hitting right this instant. No Gen 10 or whatever the next generation is.
Are you happy with this Pokemon Day?
I feel like I'm always a little underwhelmed when I come out of it. Like, I think the last time I was happy was when, like, the last time I was excited with, like, oh man, like there's a lot of cool stuff to like think about, was when they had Legends Arceus and Scarlet Violet. Like they had like the details, or no, it wasn't the details. It was like the first update of Legends Arceus. It was like the Daybreak update, I think.
Yeah.
And then they also had the teaser for Scarlet Violet that was coming later that year. I think that was 2022.
So yes. Daybreak. Yes, Daybreak was the teaser, and then they did a small little thing for Scarlet Violet.
Yes. So I think that was the last time I was like, wow, that was great. Like an update to one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time, and then also the new gen.
Yeah, I think Legends Arceus, just the straight up reveal. Like, it's hard. It was hard for me to get excited about Scarlet. Like, I was excited, but it was hard for me to get excited with Scarlet and Violet with how it looked. And it just looked like Legends Arceus, but removing things that I liked about Legends Arceus, which drove me crazy. Like, having a Pokemon Sparkle when it's shiny, like, why do you remove that? What are you doing?
They need to. I mean, not they need to. I need to replay Legends Arceus. That game
I
rules.
feel like I want to.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that before ZA comes out.
Especially because I have this terrible rock that can kill me.
Yeah, for people who are listening to the audio version, which is the vast majority of people, by the way. Sorry. He has a replica of the Pokeball from Pokemon Legends Arceus that is it looks quite substantial.
It's got some heft to it.
I have a few of the replicas. I have the Heal Ball.
Oh, okay. So I have the Premier Ball.
Oh, I wish I had the Premier Ball, or I wish I had like the Master Ball. Yeah, those are cool.
The Master Ball was like super short print.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like only 400 of that thing exists.
The Love Ball is the other one that I have, I think.
Which one?
The Love Ball, I believe it is. Yeah, Love Ball and the Heal Ball, I think, are the two that I have.
So the Premier Ball I got for a deal from Sideshow when I pre-ordered a new Captain America figure. They're like, "Do you want this Premier Ball for $50?" And I'm like, "Oh,
yes, actually,
yes, that's correct."
Well, I'm glad you got that.
Yeah,
I would love a deal on one of the more like standard Pokeballs, like either the Great Ball, the Ultra Ball, the Pokeball, or the Premier Ball. So I'll have to keep my eyes open. But and we are going to take our final break of this episode, but we are not done talking Pokemon. When we get back, we are going to do definitive ranking, and wouldn't you know it, it is a Pokemon topic. We will be right back. We are back, and it's time for Definitive Ranking, a recurring segment where we take a Nintendo topic and give our own personal top 5 lists. Since today was a celebration of what is next for Pokemon, Ben, I want to get your top 5 moments from Pokemon video games. So start at 5, count it down to 1, give me a sentence or two about each.
Sure. So I would say like playing X and Y for the very first time and just seeing the massive jump in presentation between it and Black and White and Black 2, White 2, and just seeing for like what the potential of the franchise could be, even though we're not like 100% there yet. It was a seismic shift.
It was a glimpse into the future.
It was a good glimpse into the future.
And also they did a great job of bringing back not only these new starters, but then giving you a secondary starter in one of the Kanto, which is the reason I actually picked up X and Y.
Look, they breathed new life into the old Pokemon stuff when we really didn't get to do stuff with older Pokemon in Black and White and Black 2 and White 2, which I thought was really cool. Playing Japanese Diamond when it first came out.
It's number 4.
Number 4 is playing Japanese Diamond when it first came out and not knowing what the hell I was doing. I don't read Japanese. Just so happened that my friend bought a bunch of copies of Japanese Diamond and he sold me one. And so I'm a freshman in college playing this, and I am just like, there's not a lot of information on the internet. Like there were some Pokemon that was Gastrodon that everybody was like, oh, this is like a Divergent Lapras or something. No, it's just its own thing.
Yeah.
And so like just playing this game and experiencing it in a language I did not understand, and then going to get dinner and then about to face the champion of the Elite Four, and it's Cynthia, and everything is terrible, and just like getting annihilated. And then something crazy happened. Somebody found these very weird glitches in first print runs of Japanese Diamond and Pearl, where like if you surf on the first member of the Elite Four in the overworld, you can walk around like the black space around.
Oh.
And if you follow very specific paths, you can get Shaman and Darkrai. If you screw up, you brick your game and you have to mail it back to Japan. I followed those specific paths. I got those Shaman and Darkrai. And because the game recognizes them as glitches, I can't transfer them. It's pretty crazy.
Well, hey, that's a really formative experience for that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Number 3, Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Just like all of it, experiencing those. My very first time playing them, it was my very first experience in playing a ROM on an emulator, and it was on a floppy disk, and just playing that game, facing against my rival, early days of the internet where everybody's like, oh, the rival's Giovanni's kid, and then having it be confirmed 10 years later in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Like, all of it. It was just chef's kiss.
Yep.
Beating number 2 is beating the Elite Four in blue, and then being so excited, I ran around my house, dropped my Game Boy Color. My game went flying out, and it deleted my save file. and
serves you right.
You served me right. I like called up a friend, and I was like, "Is there any way to recover?" And he's like, "I don't think there is, buddy." You know, this was a total little Benny move, and so I had started with Bulbasaur, so I restarted with Squirtle. Okay. And so we just don't talk about my original Bulbasaur.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. And then my favorite memory of Pokemon, Missing now, and just all the glitches, and just being like on the playground and on the bus on the way to and from school, talking about like, oh, this is what you do in order to do this. You surf here, and then you talk to this old man, then you surf here, and then you duplicate the item, and you gotta be careful because if its name has a bunch of symbols and like it still looks like Missingno and it has Sky Attack twice, then it's gonna screw you up your day. Like that's like being able to like comprehend all of that as a 5th grader, I think was just remarkable, and like definitely painted a form of how I solved problems. It's definitely the reason why I'm a doctor. But
oh, wow.
No. So look, I think the glitches for me make Pokemon what it is. It is a broken world, but it's a lot of fun.
It is. Well said. Mine were a little bit more straightforward than yours.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Mine were abstract.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I when I tell people these lists, not only for first Nintendo game, favorite Nintendo game, but also for definitive ranking, people ask clarifying questions all the time. I always say, it is your list. Do with it however you want. You can interpret these questions however you want. Here's what I'm doing.
So it's your punishment.
Yeah. You do not need to follow how I'm doing it. How I'm doing it, though, are just moments in games, like the mainline moments in some of these games. So number 5 for me, getting Dragonite in Pokemon Go back in the early days of Pokemon Go. Like
You evolved into it, or did you catch one in the wild?
I evolved from Dratini all the way up to Dragonite.
Okay.
Which meant you had to catch a lot of Dratini.
I caught one in the wild in a thunderstorm. It was crazy, and it was biblical, and I named him Judah. And I remember, like, I was at a carnival waiting for my ride to pick me up, and it was like the carnival had gotten rained out, summer of Pokemon Go and everything like that, and it was just thunderstorms everywhere, and a Dragonite just spawned, and like water is piling up on my screen as I'm trying to catch this idiot.
Spin throw.
Yeah.
Yeah, the craziest spawn that I had in like the early days of Pokemon Go was a Gyarados just spawning in the wild. Yeah. I was just like, that was just madness because there were like 50 people who just swarmed the area to catch the Gyarados.
There are videos of like Vaporeon spawning in Central Park and everybody just going ballistic.
Yeah. So that, I mean, and that also solidified Dragonite as my favorite Pokemon. Like I always liked Dragonite.
That's your favorite. Okay.
Yes. So, but getting him in Pokemon Go felt like such an accomplishment. That felt like the end game of when there was just Gen 1 in Pokemon Go. And it was like, oh man, I did it. I basically beat Pokemon Go, and then they just kept going forever and I fell off. Number 4 is another spin-off game, Snapping Mew in Pokemon Snap, because that was like the final boss battle. It felt so impactful. This was back in, the late 90s when Mew was still like this, just like
urban legend.
Yeah. It didn't
weird
feel
legend.
Like, it felt weird to have it acknowledged in any official capacity. Like even like Pokemon, the first movie, when it was Mew versus Mewtwo, it was so special to see Mew.
Because you couldn't get it through any normal means in the game. And so it just felt like it was exclusive to this one special moment, but there were ways you could get it. But like it was really exclusive to this one special moment. But then in Snap, that was crazy. Did you go to Blockbuster as well? And also, get to use the machine.
I still have my card.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Where is it? Oh, It's over there, out of reach.
But you have it readily available.
I do.
That's good.
But yeah, so number 4, Snapping Mew in Pokemon Snap. Number 3, Super Smash Brothers on N64, playing in Saffron City with no items except for Pokeballs, and then the Pokemon coming out of the stage. It felt like I know that, like, looking back on it now, Smash 64 is so rudimentary.
Yeah.
But man, was that cool, like having like just a Pokemon battle essentially.
Right.
Throwing out Pokemon.
A very
and then,
violent Pokemon battle.
Yeah, and it was so much fun.
More like the TV shows.
It felt like it, right? And an honorable mention that I had, speaking of which, was playing Pokemon Yellow and hearing Pikachu say his own name.
Yeah.
Because I was like, whoa, like, because I was so used to Red and Blue where it was just like, okay, Pikachu just makes this, and it's just like, all right.
That's pretty good.
It was just like, all right, well, I guess that's just what he sounds like in the games, and that sucks. And it's still crazy to me that they still sound like that in the games today. It's like, man, they can't just, why do they have the digitized roars? Why can't they just have, like, I don't know. There's a lot of things about the Pokemon franchise in the modern era that frustrate me.
Yes.
Number 2, this is a very obvious one, catching Mewtwo in Red and Blue after you beat the Elite Four, going and facing off against, at the time, the ultimate Pokemon, and just almost impossible to catch unless you have a Master Ball. Like, I think I wasted something like 60 Ultra Balls on him, even though he was like paralyzed and down to like 1 HP.
Was he number 150 for you to catch? So you
no. I never completed the full decks in Red Blue, but
interesting. Okay,
because I never had anybody to like trade with, or I didn't go out of my way to be like, okay, I need to trade my Haunter to you and then trade him back because I need Gengar.
Yeah,
it was always I couldn't be bothered. I was enough of a nerd in school. I didn't need to be the guy who also brought link cables.
Okay, well, I did. And look how well I turned out. I don't know.
And then number 1 for me, it's also in the Gold Silver games. Spoiler alert for anybody who has not played those, but the moment that you return to Kanto, and then also it's just like the passage of time.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, like the Cinnabar Islands were destroyed by a volcanic eruption, and
didn't want to build it.
God, it was. I honestly, I think that is one of the most brilliant post games to ever exist. And then there's also the battle against Red, which is extremely difficult unless you're very high leveled.
Yep.
Just a masterclass of how to do a post game, like meaningful post game content. Going through and playing through like the 8 gym battles again, like an entire second campaign.
So one of the things that was interesting about me playing it on the ROM when I first played this was that the game crashed after the credits rolled, and
you couldn't save.
Well, no, you could save, but after you beat the Elite Four, then the game crashes, and you don't get to do the other 8. You don't get to do the other 8 in Red, is what I'm saying. You don't get to do any of Kanto.
You couldn't finish. You had to get through the credits in order to go.
Right, because the credits roll when you first beat the Elite Four.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to experience that until a year after playing it on the emulator, and I was just like, oh my God. That's when I understood the word lore.
Yeah.
I feel like that was my Star Wars. Gold and Silver and Crystal were my Star Wars. They were an extremely special time for me, and it sounds like the same for you.
I was always a Red Blue guy, and I actually came to Gold and Silver after the fact. Because I fell off after Red and Blue, and then I didn't get back into it until X and Y, and then I started going back and replaying the older games. So I was as a kid, I was like, I know these 151 like the back of my hand. I don't want to learn anymore.
Sure, yeah.
And then X and Y was coming out, and it seemed like they were doing a lot of Kanto Pokemon, so I got back into it through that. And then I went back and played Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4. So yeah, that was my experience with. Oh no, I didn't play Gen 4 until years later with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Right. Yeah. Wow, you really That's crazy.
Yeah. I tried to play Gen 4, but I feel like the load times were just absurd.
The load times were weird. The
in the original
saving
Gen 4.
times.
That's what I meant. Yeah, the
saving
save time.
were messed up.
I
Saving
started
a lot
playing
of
it.
data.
Yeah. But Ben, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of All Things Nintendo.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. As you know, my Patreon and the associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in, but you can also get in touch with me at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or hit me up on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. That is also the name of my YouTube channel, and if you would subscribe to that, it would help the show out a lot. Ben, where can people find you online?
You can find me on X or whatever it's called now, at Dr. Ben MD. You can probably find me on Blue Sky at the same place. I feel like we haven't all made the migration.
We should, though. We should.
We should. It's just, it's hard to change things when you're when you are where you are. And you can also find me on Instagram, Ben Richlin MD. Check out It's Going Down Now on Fidel's Games Cage's YouTube page. And keep an eye out for more cool music.
There'll be a link to that in the show notes, by the way, the video for It's Going Down Now. So check that out. But Ben, that is our show for this week. Thank you to everyone for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. Before we wrap up this episode of All Things Nintendo, I just want to give a special shout out to the $10 patrons of the show. Abdullah, Adam Scott, Alex Stadnick, Ben Richlin, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jackal, Jason Thompson, Jawar Hello, Jill Grote, Johnny Five, Jordan Sloat, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, Cody Gibson, Creeper207, Mad Genie, Confused Koala, Megan S., Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roger Reichart, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Tux DC, Wham Bam Sam the Gaming Man, Zachary Pliggy, and Zek 3 Sword Sama. Thank you so much for your continued support of this podcast.